All right. Welcome everybody to the weekly live demo. This is a regular occurrence for us. We record them. We have a few samples on our website, but really this is meant to be like a quick 10 to 20-minute introduction to Sigma for the unfamiliar and also get a chance to show off some more advanced features for people already in the know. So, quick introduction. My name is Zack Norton. I'm a technical product marketing manager at Sigma. If you have any questions, you can reach me at zach@sigmacomputing.com. And I'll also point out where we have live in-app chat support in the product as we go. And myself, I was a Sigma solution engineer. Now I'm on the marketing side, but I've been in the Northeast and I've sold a lot of fintech and healthcare, and two very data secure or data security conscious verticals. So I can talk a bit about, how we really reinforce security for those organizations. But our primary differentiators as a BI analytics platform is one, scale. I like to say a million rows isn't cool, 1 billion rows is cool, 10 billion is even cooler. So you can see here in our little screen cap, this is a 8 billion row table that's live for the end user within Sigma. And you'll notice it's a familiar spreadsheet-like interface. So rather than having to pick up LookML, DAX, SQL, Python, or MDAX, or VizQL, or any one of the other proprietary languages that are usually associated with BI tools, with Sigma, if you just know spreadsheets, you're good to go. It works the way that you expect in terms of being able to filter, staying live on the data. And if you've ever experienced exporting an Excel workbook and getting tapped out in a million rows, well, you know the pain that would be solved with a tool like this. So it's all real time. All the data stays in the warehouse in your cloud data platform. Even further, what we enable is write back. So if you do things like VLOOKUPs within Excel, or if you're used to previous planning tools like TM1, Anaplan, Hyperion planning, that functionality now can all be accomplished with the data live in the warehouse, because Sigma, with its spreadsheet-like interface, also allows for real-time write-back to be able to do things like VLOOKUPs, product planning, and what-if analysis. So all the data stays live. It's explore anywhere. And what we'll be getting into is why building your own SaaS live data apps has never been easier. Tomorrow, I will be on a webinar with one of our premier market partners, Aimpoint Digital, and we're going to be talking about how building embedded SaaS platforms is very easy to do. They'll show an example that they built in just 10 days, whereas usually if you went through the trouble of using your own dev tools to build an embedded SaaS application, you're going to be stuck for a bit of time debugging it, trying to make sure that it scales for end users. So a lot of the other functionality that we emphasize is cutting down on expenses, unifying your applications. In fact, typically we end up replacing 2 BI tools rather than just one in a sales cycle, because there's older burst reporting tools, there's second generation visualization tools, there's some desktop apps, and we can accomplish the burst reporting as well as the visualization component usually in one fell swoop. And that also centralizes the data now that it's all being moved to your cloud data platform. So that's enough with slideware. And I'm going to move into my online sales data set sitting live within Sigma. So I'm actually just in Chrome. It's not a desktop app. You can imagine this could be sigmacomputing.com / the name of your company, which if you go to our website, sigmacomputing.com, you can immediately sign up for a free trial to get live on your data. Or if your data is not in the cloud data platform, we have a sample data warehouse where you can upload CSVs to get a feel for the interface. But right here, like I was saying, this is a online sales data set, and it's 9.1 million rows, which is short change for us, frankly. And that spreadsheet interface means that if I wanted to, I can right click, I can filter. That's going to profile all 9.1 million rows, give me a visualization on the fly for how the actual product details stack up. And you can see here, there's the query running in the back end. But let's say if I just want to filter on one specific product type, like go to iPhone 5S, which is, I think, the version I'm still on. And you'll see with that filter, that 9.1 million rows now gets filtered down to 36,000 rows. I just use a quick hotkey to flick back. So all this stays live when we index a column and do that profile for like a count distinct of what to filter on. It's not just sampling the first 1,000 rows, it's going through the entire data set. So even if I'm looking at a value column like revenue and I want to get details, I can ask column details. It's going to profile the entire 9 million row data set and then return primarily, I have 509,000 rows of products with a revenue of $115. So I can get some high level statistics before I even do any more complicated analysis. Now, one way that I want to actually order this data is I just want to do count distinct of orders by month because I want to do some planning for what I need to plan for next year with a forecast based off my historic data. So on order date time, I'm just going to duplicate this, but truncate the second duplicated column down to month. This is my order month. Now, the way that Sigma tables end up being first-class visualization assets on their own is I can group on a column and then add a new calculation the same as I would in an Excel spreadsheet. So I'm going to do a count distinct of order number. That's going to be my order count. So distinct order numbers per month. And if I collapse this column, I get that rolled up, and that 9.11 million rows becomes just 51 rows because this is going across 51 individual months. I can do a little additional formatting to get this down to a nice scientific currency, just 5.2K. That's what I need to know. Rounding up here a little bit. Now, Sigma can leverage Python functions from places like Snowpark within cloud data platforms like Snowflake. And the way that I leverage them is, again, with a very simple spreadsheet-like formula. So in this case, I want to do a monthly forecast. And it even prompts me out the box, hey, that's going to be a date and a value. So here's the date, comma, I'm going to add the value. That monthly forecast, those 51 rolled up numbers from the 9.1 million rows gets pushed down into the Snowpark UDF and then returns a handful of variables in JSON. Now, this is usually a place where the spreadsheet-like user gets stuck. But again, Sigma, I have a very easy to learn UI that I can extract columns from a nested JSON column. So I want to know the future date that we're predicting and the actual number prediction. So here's date, which we can also make that a date column, truncate that to month. And the prediction will be formatted as well to just scientific units. So based on the order in 2020, March of 5.2 thousand, and then the ensuing 3 years, what we predict for June in 2024 is coming up, is an order amount of 12,000 units. So what I have here is already a predictive value based on my historic data, and I've not left the spreadsheet-like interface. And of course, here's where some users would feel like, all right, it's time to export, and I'm going to go into Excel and start building visualizations the way I already know how. The problem is that extract is now going to be stale. Instead, we want to keep this live and keep iterating and be able to share this with other users within my organization without worrying about stale extract copies where we're constantly asking if this is the correct one. Did somebody name this correctly when they saved it to their desktop and then emailed it to somebody? So from here, I want to do a visualization, which will be a line chart. So nothing too fancy. And I'm going to grab the original order amount and the order count and just chart that out. And I have a fear of very strict lines, so I'm just going to smooth this out so it looks better to me. So this is my historic orders. I'm just going to duplicate that, grab the same visualization. I used a hotkey there. And now I'm going to add the future month and what the prediction is. I can actually put those side by side. And the orange one is the new future value overlap with the historic value. But for now, let's just kind of get these side by side. And the prediction, I'm just going to make that orange so I can kind of see the difference here. So charting this out, I have 2020, March. And then as I get to the next visualization, it's going to hop to July and show me my predictive orders. That's all well and good. And that's also assuming all my data is in a cloud data platform. But what if there is disparate data that's not available that I want to add? So what I may need to do is go to a spreadsheet that I have that somebody sent me that, hey, we have emergency orders that we make for our brick and mortar stores. And I want to layer those into the existing data. So if you see here, this is a Excel sheet that I got sent at the last minute where somebody was trying to invalidate all the work that I did live within Sigma. And I got to show them, hey, I did all this work, but I don't want to discount it just because I can't bring in all these disparate orders that aren't already in the cloud data warehouse. This is where Sigma input tables comes in. I'm going to grab a new input table, and it's just drag and drop. And I'm just going to copy and paste, get all the values here. Using a hotkey there, Command C, Command V. And there is the additional disparate siloed data. All right, great. So what that actually does, Sigma does not store or persist any of your data in our own servers. All we do is we facilitate writing it back to your cloud data platform. So when I added this table and copied and pasted this data in, that's going back directly to, in this case, it's Snowflake. What's great is once I format this, there's going to be a date. This is month of order date. I could do a very Excel-like operation to add another column via a lookup. And I want to match the additional order amount. Just map it, order month, month of order data. So the additional data matches 72.7%. So maybe there's some months that we didn't have to make an emergency order, but I could just layer in that additional order amount. So that is a lookup. And this order count is getting pushed into the monthly forecast. So if you follow me here, what I'm going to do, it's going to get this all in one view so you can see the charts respond as I make the adjustment. But if order account now wants to bring in the additional order amount that I added from the CSV, changing this original column, which is feeding into the monthly forecast through a Snowpark UDF, I select enter. My charts will respond in kind by going through the previous orders and then working through the new predictive orders. This just needs to be charted on the right axis. See, refresh it a little bit. But in that way, I can immediately add the previous column element, get the new one, and deal with the new monthly forecast. And when things go awry or a little confused, I always have the option for Sigma live chat to reach out to one of our support engineers for, hey, I used to do this way within Excel. I used to do this way within Tableau. How do I do this now within Sigma? But what we have is a live interaction with the warehouse that can scale for millions of rows, and the write back opportunity for bringing in new data that stays live and can be editable in the same interface. So it's more elaborate than just your traditional upload CSV that just goes into a warehouse or S3 bucket somewhere. I'm gonna check a few questions coming in on the chat line here. One is if we have any templates or existing examples of dashboards. So let me show you real quick. I'm gonna go back to my home page. So if you sign up for a Sigma free trial, you want to get a feel for the art of the possible, there are templates. So from the home page, navigate to templates. A fun one that we just launched was Google Analytics 4. This starts out on our sample data, but you can take this template and then reposition it on top of your own Google Analytics 4 data, especially if you use the Snowflake GA3, GA4 connector that brings the data over from Google into your Snowflake warehouse. If you follow a few best practices for transformation, you get a lot more row-level detail into your Google Analytics data on the fly. So activity by page title, and not just like the first 10 pages. You could get down to every single page's traffic medium, traffic source, event name, detail. What came from organic, what came from paid, your new users, returning users. So these templates are a great way to understand some of the best practices working within Sigma. We also have this lineage tab that walks through. Here's the table in the warehouse. Here's the table in Sigma. Here's the table rolled up for some KPI tiles. And here's the other outcomes. So when you are working within Sigma and you're trying to get a feel for the lineage of a table going into different visualizations, what came from where, this lineage tab comes in handy. Taking another question in the chat. Do we have any ways of tracking cost? So I do want to call this out. When we query, there are queries that go through the cloud data platform. But for certain follow-up moves, like if I'm just doing 5 plus 7 in Sigma, like I already rolled up 2 different columns in Snowflake, and this is just bar napkin scratch math, those can be calculated in browser. So when we don't need to bother the warehouse, we don't. It's only if you need to go back and fully refetch all the values in a single column or all the categories. We also leverage the Snowflake cache, the same with other cloud data platforms, and especially in Snowflake's instance. I got templates here. This is the Snowflake cost monitoring template because the cost schema tables within Snowflake, they're always the same. So this is very easy to deploy to get a feel for your total usage over time. And there's a handful of best practices if you do have multiple different Snowflake accounts and you want to roll them up into one table and then feed it into this visualization. That's something we can walk through. Just, again, live in-app chat support for best practices on the back end even. All right, so that's a half-hour mark. One thing I want to plug is if you go to sigmacomputing.com and you're interested in learning more about our embedded analytics, we have a webinar coming up tomorrow So if you go to resources and then live events, there is the embedded analytics, how to fast track your team to monetize data. So like a lot of things, it matters who gets there first. So if you're looking to productize your cloud data platforms, you know, all the data you've collected and you've trying to monetize it even within like the Snowflake data marketplace, this is some of the best practices for how to go about building a embedded Sigma data app that your end users can access, pay for access to, or if you just want to demonstrate the art of possible on your data. This webinar is going to walk through some of the best practices. There'll be another live demo that's completely different. It'll be myself again, but I'll be joined by one of the leaders at Aimpoint Digital to walk through best practices, how we embed via iframe, how to accomplish row-level security, and how to take advantage of that write-back functionality, even when we're talking in an embed context. But again, this is my email. So any follow-up questions or any requests for previous demos that we've done, I'm always available. But thanks, everybody.
There you go. Hope you enjoyed. And if you were interested in giving Sigma a spin, I just sent the link for our Thursday Game Changers, where we're going to be able to give anyone who joins access to Sigma and you'll work right alongside with us. So if you're interested, again, I just sent the link in the restream. So if you're watching along, feel free to join. Other than that, hope you all have a great week. Take care.